You're watching TVC Breakfast. Let's get into our last discussion of the day. After 6 failed attempts in 7 years at passing the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, the National Assembly transmitted a reworked version of the bill to President Buhari on January 31st this year. Now, with just about a year to the 2023 general election, there was renewed hope that the country would get a document that would help fulfill the yearnings of Nigerians for a free and credible poll. This was because the new bill addressed President Buhari's reasons for rejecting the last amendment to the bill last year. Clause 84 of the previous amendment bill had mandated political parties to adopt direct primaries as the mode of selecting candidates for elective offices. And that clause has now been removed, but still, President Buhari is yet to sign the bill into law. Civil society organizations are now lending their voices to calls for the president to sign the bill, stating that he has no reason to further delay. The CSOs say President Buhari must allow his bitter experience of approaching the courts on 3 consecutive occasions over faulty elections propel him to sign the Electoral Bill and leave the country's electoral process better than he met it. This is the crux of our discussion. Joining me now is development analyst and leadership strategist, Dr. John Ekundayo. It's nice to have you join me this morning.
Michael,
and welcome.
Yeah,
great.
Thanks.
Now, this back and forth in the last few years of the Electoral Amendment Bill, the way it is going, some analysts are saying that it might take us, you go through the same process again. Remember, the last time it was that, okay, this is too close to election, so we needed to, give it some time. And now we're drawing closer to elections again. Why is there so much controversy around this amendment, Electoral Amendment Bill?
It's unfortunate that, we are still on this. And reflecting back, it's about 5 times now. Over the years, 5 times that the bill has been passed from the National Assembly to the President for assent and have been returned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's unfortunate. The one that will have happened, before the last election, the alibi was that, it was too close to the election, so for it to be used. And now we have just about a year, maybe a year and a few days to the election. And that's why the civil society organizations are really, really clamoring that something should be done if actually we will have the amended Electoral Act, being used for 2023 elections. Of course, this year we're having a Ekiti State election in June, and then we're having an Osun election. I don't know the month now, but I think it's this year again too. So definitely, the amended bill, whatever, even if it is signed to law, may not be used for these 2 elections. But how about 2023? So it really called for this thing. But the angle I look at this is that the National Assembly too had not helped matters.
How is that?
Let me just shed light to that. It's because from your experience, we have some of these, our high-ranking senators have been there 2 times, 3 times. Some in the House of Rep have been there, like the Speaker have been there. I think this is the 5th time of the Speaker. So the experience with this thing. So by the time the President forwarded this bill to the National Assembly to be amended, I think it was just an issue on making direct primaries compulsory. That, let there be options. And during the President spoke to the nation during a nationwide interview, and he said, why don't we include other options, so that we can have indirect primary and consensus? Good. And the National Assembly reworked this and passed back to the National Assembly, but began now to tinker with certain sections of the Electoral Act, which previously they didn't do any work about. So for me, really, they didn't help matters. And they wanted the president to sign this off just like that. You see, if it had been on that particular clause, the National Assembly dwell on, and then make sure that this one is clarified. I think by now, the president will have given assent.
So you think it is those extra clauses, those extra amendments or new injection after the president had first rejected the amendment bill? You think that is what is causing this delay now?
Yes, I think that partly because one wisdom that should have prevailed for the National Assembly members will have been thinking back on the appropriation bill and the petroleum industry bill. The petroleum industry bill was signed to law by the president, but later on, had to be reworked on.
Yes.
The same thing with the appropriation bill. The president was looking at it. Oh, I want things to begin to happen. I want things to begin to happen as we enter into 2022. We cannot afford to delay. And the president, even though the National Assembly inserted a huge, a lot of projects inside this, and that was shortening up the budget. I can't remember the exact figure now, maybe by almost about 700 billion or something like that. Yet the president signed, but now a supplementary budget, I think, is already being worked upon now. So this matter of the Electoral Act amendment should be on the front burner too in this government. If this present government has a strong political will to make this thing to happen. 5 times we have this dilly-dally between the National Assembly and the Presidency. And here we are again. So if it had been the issue of only direct primary being made compulsory, that one already removed, and now, okay, the options are there, which of course the National Assembly have agreed on. If that's the only option, now the National Assembly in their own wisdom could say, okay, now we have also observed certain things, but for now we want the electoral process to be on course, because the INEC also have timetable,
time frame,
and that is it, the time frame. And for this time frame to be maintained, okay, let this thing be done. Forget about this other amendment. We can work on that and still repass this thing to you again.
All right. Now the point there is the National Assembly is also watching all of these, and they're looking at the timetable or the time frame that you talked about from INEC. They're looking at how many times this same bill has gone to the presidency and returned, and gone to the presidency and returned, yet they're not able to override the president, knowing that, okay, in their own wisdom, they feel this is the best, and being direct representative of the people, they can override the president and have the law, signed, even if the president doesn't append his signature. But they've not really been able to do that.
Well, for real political harmony and synergy, really I won't advocate for the National Assembly to just go ahead like that and say, oh, we have this power. You see, it's good to work together. You see, but there's a perspective, Mike, that we should begin to think about in our deepening and developing our democracy. You see, there have not been that kind of robust engagement. It's lacking, between this assembly, National Assembly, and the executive. You see, they're supposed to be, because now, after the bill have been sent to the National Assembly, the only issue, like I said, raised there was the issue of making direct primary compulsory. Now, since the National Assembly now look at it and say, oh, okay, we have other things also, maybe that we forgot that time, or we overlooked, that we wanted to put in. Those things should have been highlighted. Those things that should have been listed. It shouldn't have been put in the rework bill to the presidency again. It should have been a kind of addendum that we'll look at this later on. Then we have the SSA to the president on National Assembly matter. I think Senator is it Omo Warare now? We have that. We have also, somebody linking up from the National Assembly to the presidency. They should have worked together, and even possibly, the presidency working and selecting some people to meet with key officers of the National Assembly behind us, behind cameras, work on all these things and say, okay, this list that you have, this addendum, okay, we can rework on this. Just like I said, petroleum industry bill, becoming an act, and then still being reworked. What about the appropriation bill 2022? This that became appropriation act 2022. It's being reworked. This thing, because the time frame is an issue.
Yeah, but what do you make of the fact that the ruling party to which the president belongs is the majority party at the National Assembly? Their working in harmony has been so close that some people have even said that the National Assembly is now looking like a rubber stamp to the executive or to the president. Isn't that a good, working relationship enough to have some of these things passed?
Mike, I don't agree with you.
Okay.
You see, because that's on the surface. Don't forget we're in the year of primaries. It's a penultimate year to the election year 2023. And there are a lot of interest. Look at the ruling party now, APC. 26th of this month, is supposed to be a convention. It's now dilly-dallying with, where the president will be meeting with the governors today now, like
tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, okay, tomorrow. So there are a lot of interests, and I could read the Attorney General to the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Malami, saying, when I look at this, rework bill, I want to see whether, it followed national and public interest. That was his word, not personal interest. And I was wondering, who is it the Senate president now or the Speaker of the House of Rep? No, that's personal. So there are a lot of intrigues, there are a lot of interests in this thing. You see, and people are already looking at it. In fact, politics of the Electoral Act amendment is there. You see that, if this is allowed to say true, it will favor so and so. A class of people maybe contesting for governorship or presidency or whatever. So we will not allow it to go through. Or if we allow this, then it's because of so and so personality or so and so in so and so position. So that kind of, even though it's the same APC, but there are a lot of interest. I won't say factions within the party. So this interest all will play out in the final amendment, before the president can assent to it. Yeah,
but the point there is, you like you said earlier, there is no time. We're looking at the time frame. INEC is already watching and say, do what you have to do now because the time is closing up. Now, if all of this interests will have to be settled and everything addressed, do you see the possibility of all of these happening before the time elapses for INEC? Because if that time elapses, INEC is not going back because they are going to say, hey, you know what, we can't work with this document anymore.
I'm glad that Mr. Festus Okoye, the National Commissioner in INEC, made a statement because that it's still possible for an INEC to work with the Electoral Act when signed to law, even though it may be less than 360 days, just like the civil society, people are clamoring. Actually, the 360 came in, because looking at it, came in through the INEC rules and regulation governing the conduct of governorship and presidential elections. So that it has to be the third weekend of February. It's there in their rule, in INEC rule, but not in Nigerian Constitution. The Nigerian Constitution is still supreme in this matter, even as lawyers are also saying. You see, and even some lawyers believe that INEC has so much power. It's not just about setting the electoral process on, the electoral procedure. They are the regulator, they are the umpire. You see, but I think INEC, giving it to them, why they want the Electoral Act, the new Electoral Act, is they want to strengthen their position. Their position as a regulator, as an umpire. Because in time past, there have been candidates that have taken INEC to court, and in many cases, INEC lost. So, but if they have been strengthening with, where we have gaps in the Electoral Act before, imagine Electoral Act of 2010, and we are going to 2023. How many years? That's about 13 years now, for crying out loud. So, and like somebody says that the law is dynamic, especially as people evolve too. So I think INEC can still work with this time frame. They can amend their own regulation. It's not cast in stone. What is cast in stone is that which is in the Constitution. For their own, it's like, it has to be 360 days, but they can rework their own rules and regulation to say, okay, maybe 180 days to 360 days, whatever thing. But one other good thing is that a new act also, should be kind of publicized for people to know at least certain time.
Just creating awareness.
Yes, awareness, before the election takes place. But I believe 6 months, 9 months is still okay.
The 365 days or 360
days.
360 days you know, it should be within this week now.
Yes, that's why the civil society organizations are clamoring that if by tomorrow, 22, the president doesn't assent to the bill, they will have to have a protest. It's a kind of a pressure towards that being actualized anyway.
This electoral amendment bill, which a lot of people seek for it to become an act, how much of a game changer will it be into the electoral process?
Very good question. It's really a game changer. Okay. You see, and I will take you back. Look at the election in Rivers State that brought in Omeha as governor.
Yes.
And Amechi, the present minister of transportation, Rotimi Amechi, did not participate in that election. He went to court after challenging the validity of the primary of the PDP. And that was it. And of course, the PDP primary was not valid in law. In the eye of the law, it was not there. So the thing was given to Amechi. And that was how. So we have seen instances happening. We have seen a particular state where the governor-elect, on the eve of his being sworn in, was already practicing. And then, before we could know what was happening, the court now say, no, you are no more. Because the joint ticket are brought to with your deputy governor, the deputy governor has issued with the certificate and things like that. So I think that's why you have all this process there. You see, when we begin to get, like we have electronic transmission now under this new act, which was not in 2010. So, and then the use of technology is being enhanced in this new act. So, unlike 2010, you know, anybody that maybe just look at it and then after the election is defeated can just look at it and say, oh, let me go to court, having a loophole. And a lawyer will back him up and say, okay, we can go on this trajectory, on this route, and knock the candidate who won in the election. And enough is enough of having court governors, you see, or tribunal governor, whatever you want to call it, or a senator, even in position. That's why we need to strengthen the Electoral Act so that we make it more robust and in such a way that people can rely on it. And then another thing is this, like I was reading somewhere, the military incursion in African countries is getting serious now, especially in West Africa. Why? It's because people cannot see what is the gain of democracy. They are looking at it like, oh, what can we get there? So when we strengthen our Electoral Act, we are deepening and we are developing our democracy. And then the electorate, the followers, who have more confidence in our electoral process, and they want to partake. Because many people are not voting. Many are not even participating. Less than 40% participated in the 2019 election. So I think that's the more reason why we need to get it right.
Okay, we have to leave it here now. Thank you very much, Dr. Johnny Kundaya, for coming on the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to a more positive approach to these things and final resolution and the signing of the bills.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great.